I play Eliana, also known as Magic, and she can teleport. She is the queen of a hell dimension known as Limbo. She has a cool arm that's attached to a soul sword that gets stronger with everybody that she kills, and I get a dragon.
I play Rain. She is like very uncomfortable in her own skin, and she probably enjoys being like within her mutant form more than she likes being just like a person. And I think a lot of teenage girls are going to relate to that. Like you see her like on screen for the first time and she's like holding, like putting her fingers all through her sleeves and like chewing on her sleeves. And I think like, I know when I was like a kid, I was like so anxious like that. And like, yeah, I think like a lot of girls are going to see themselves in her because she's just, you know, like awkward and uncomfortable.
You can expect her to like find her voice and become like a leader slowly through, to start like as a small person and become like a much bigger rounded person. She's definitely got like a little tiny bit of an attitude, but nothing like, you know, Anya's character, but they definitely butt heads. So I'm excited to see Ileana and Danny's like hate for each other. It's fun.
Roberto da Costa, aka Sunspot, is a hot-headed Brazilian who is capable of absorbing and emanating solar energy in form of strength, and is putting on this confident facade because he's actually terrified inside of what he can do and what he can become. Yeah.
Charlie?
I play Sam Guthrie, who is a kid from Kentucky, and his cannonballs so he can project himself through the sky in an impenetrable force field.
My character, I play Dr. Cedar Reyes, and she's the one that is guiding these young mutants through their journey as finding out about their powers and how to control it and how to deal with it, all these questions. So, yeah.
I was so excited to get this little sequence done that Nate and I had come up with, where Ileana basically pops out of a limbo portal down a flight of stairs where she kills a bunch of dudes on the way down, kills a bunch of dudes against the wall, almost kills Charlie, and then swoops back up. And I don't know, we had some stuff like that was so cool to see Anya on wires with the sword coming down, kind of doing all the things she had trained for months to do. So that was really fun. And then kind of on the opposite end, there's a really intimate moment that was sort of the scene that we auditioned Blue Hunt with Maisie Williams, that where we were excited about exploring that relationship in a way that we hadn't seen in typical superhero movies or studio movies in general.
I think it's Spider-Man for me. Yeah, Spider-Man. Just that dream of being able to, shoot webs from your hands. I had one of those. Remember those canisters that came out that would squirt silly foam?
Oh, yeah.
And you could do this, and it would do silly foam. I had one of those. Yeah.
I was obsessed with cars, so mine was Batman. The Batmobile was something that I always wanted to drive, and not necessarily like he's not necessarily powerful. He just knows what to do at the right time and have the right gear.
Spider-Man, yeah. I came over to England and didn't speak a word of English, and there were Spider-Man cartoons, and I could understand them just because you could sort of see what was going on. So Spider-Man.
Hope that young Native people can see themselves in Danny and her character and the things that she's gone through. I think Josh did a really good job at doing the research. A lot of times people will throw a PSC character into a movie, but not really do the research as like a white person writing that role. I think he did a really good job of writing Danny really truthfully to the young indigenous experience right now. And we don't get to see her much from where she comes from, but I think the pain of being taken from her land and from her family, from her nation, and having to suddenly fall into place with a group of people from all over the world that she's never been around, like it's a culture shock for her. And I think that's something that a lot of young Native people go through as they decide whether or not they want to like leave home or not, which is really complicated. So I really hope that she's a character that they can look up to when they see her become a superhero, and come face to face with the adversity that she's gone through her entire life. Yeah.
I love Wes Anderson movies. That would be really fun. I'm so curious as to how he directs, because every piece of his films, they're all such in the same movie, but it's so unique that I do wonder the kind of direction that you get in a Wes Anderson movie. So that would be fun.
Yeah, it's really hard to take it all. I don't even know if I'm still taking it in completely, but you know, yeah, it did kind of change astronomically, and then my life changed astronomically. What I think is different now is, you know, you kind of, I don't want to ever say it becomes normal, because it's not normal, but you kind of come to some, you know, terms with it. I've been, you know, the show is on its 4th season, so kind of, yeah, I'm much more relaxed, I think, about that kind of hype and then kind of attention and fame, and then at first it made me super anxious, you know, or anxious, but just it's an, you know, it was a kind of crazy thing to go through, and I feel like I'm much more relaxed about it these days, which is nice.
The show it was popular, but it didn't really take off until season 3, and around that time is when we had our first like premiere, and I remember we were at a Man's Chinese Theatre, and it was like such an iconic place. Like I watched the Oscars every year, and like all of the handprints in the floor, and like there's so much history, and like turning up there in like my little dress, like ready for my premiere, and there was like all these fans and like people screaming, and like I was literally just like a normal kid up until that point, and then all of a sudden like I'm on the other side of the planet, and like there's people who know who I am, and like interviews, and like, you know, hair and makeup, and it's just like the most exciting thing ever. But I think that was when I was like, oh, like this could be my new life now, like if I, you know, don't fuck it up.
I mean, our homages are more homages to A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Girl Interrupted, to John Hughes films, and kind of character-driven teen coming-of-age films. We were really excited to make a movie about teenagers, because it's so seldom that there's a teenager represented in a superhero movie. I mean, we had no idea when we were making it that Disney was going to buy Fox. We didn't know. We had kind of sold it to Fox as a trilogy of films. Like theoretically, we had signed these actors to do a series of films. So I mean, I would have thought by now we would have already made the second one and all that. But when the merger happened, that kind of like everything dropped for a year. Everything was in limbo, and then once the merger was done, they had me come back and finish everything. So I'm just sort of at this point grateful we got to come back, we got to finish it. I couldn't be happier with the movie. It's the movie we set out to make, and I'm glad people can go and finally get to see it. So I'd say I'm excited about it. The experience was a long experience, so it was sort of a roller coaster of different emotions, you know.